Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Margaritas with Marguerita Cheng, CFP Pro. I'm Hope Katz Gibbs, producer of the show on the Incandescent Radio Network and Incandescent TV. We are thrilled to be here with today's guest, empowerment coach Tandy Pryor. The theme of our show is Are You Ready to Own Your Own Power? So let me throw it over to you, Miss Margarita.
Well, thank you, Hope, and welcome, Tandy. We're so excited to have you.
I am so glad to be here with you today. I loved, our conversation before, and I was so excited to hop on here with you again.
Well, absolutely. As you know, this is important. It's always important to make sure that your physical environment is where you want it to be and where it needs to be for your life. But it's a new year, and so that's even more timely and relevant. So, what do you mean when you say your physical environment is the blueprint for your life?
Well, over the last, well, let's see, I started feng shui 15 years ago. I started seeing, because I first started doing it was real estate. But then when I started as a coach, I decided to bring that in because I saw the impact that the environment has on the health, the wealth, the relationships, intuition. There's 9 sectors in a Bagua map, um, which we could talk about later. But I saw how their space reflected back to me where they were in their personal life and in their business. And this happened over and over and over again. Obviously, very individual to each person.
Thank you for
So
that.
it's yeah.
I know, Tandy, when you and I spoke, I know that you're in real estate, and I remember sharing this story for people who if you were watching. So my dad was born in China. He left Chinatown University in Taiwan. So when he would look at real estate, he would just go up to the front and be like, "Nope," and then he'd leave. And sometimes real estate agents didn't get it, but it was the physical placement. And he would say, "I can't. I don't like that house. It's beautiful, but I feel like it's so open, like someone is stabbing a back from behind." People I don't think quite got it. So can you share how the physical environment has helped your clients?
Oh my gosh, there are so many stories. The one of the most impactful was one of my very first coaching clients when I shifted into full-time business and life coaching when I turned 50. I'm now 61. So I've been doing this quite a while. But I got into her house. I'm trying to think about how I can hone this in for this story, but she was very tired, overextended, 3 kids, had the perfect house, had the perfect what it looked like life, but she was extremely tired and in a very unhappy marriage. So when I got to her house, the first thing I saw was her husband's office, perfectly done, in the command position. It was perfect. And I said, "Okay, show me where you were." So down to the basement we go. Now it was a nice office, and it was a walkout, but it was still in the basement. And when I walked into her office, it was a hot mess. It was full of everybody else's things, everybody else's stuff they didn't want. It was just a disaster. And she never had the time to stop and create a beautiful space for herself, or she didn't realize that. And so all of the things that we had talked about were manifested in her office. And she got it once we were talking about what's this? What's this? Whose is this? Why is this here? Why is there a computer that's this deep? It's huge. It was like nobody used it in 15 years, but it was stored down there. All her kids, she had 3 kids, and all of their stuff was everywhere. So she piled everything into baskets, into individual ones. That's how she started to take back control of her life and actually of her business. So within 3 days, she had it completely cleared out. She actually was able to get a painter there and paint it a beautiful color. And then we positioned her desk for the command position according to feng shui principles, which is a solid wall behind you facing your opportunities. And her life, the what that office showed was a lack of boundaries. And when she realized that, she started saying no. She started saying no at work, but where the big results came were at home. She stayed married, but she ended up having so much more prosperity in every part of her life because she learned her own value and used the physical space to kind of take it back. I hope that was um, explained enough for trying to hone it in because it's quite a longer story, but that's it. And the really cool thing was 2 months later, she had doubled her sales. She was in a worked for a big corporation in sales, and she was already doing really well, but her sales just shot right through the roof.
Oh my goodness. Yes, this is so profound. I think you mentioned this boundaries. What is
Yeah.
one tip that you can share with listeners about boundaries? Because people talk a lot about work life balance, but maybe work life integration boundaries might be better. What can you share with us
I
about
feel like
boundaries?
that. I am so passionate about boundaries, and it's like most of the time, it literally is learning how to say no. So many women that I coach, and even men, depending on the personality, they've just been taught to please other people. And so they don't have tight boundaries for themselves. They will say yes to everything and say, including, things that don't work for them. And I have had so many instances of this. I had one client that was literally coaching a bunch of financial advisors. I'm not going to say the company, it's a big one that you would have heard of, and not getting paid. But she was, because, and of course the company loved it, but she wasn't saying no in her office. The way her office was positioned, it was literally when people will walk by, she's right there, they would come right in. So no time for building her own business, but she got that inner need filled for being needed and having the right answer. That was part of the equation too. So oftentimes it's kind of like, again, pulling out all these different things around that, around the environment and the boundaries. So learning to say no is like building a muscle. It's like building an arm muscle. You just have to have the support of somebody behind you and teaching you per situation different ways to handle it and say, no, that really doesn't work for me.
That's very, very helpful. And yes, sometimes it is hard to say no. We just say um, yes. And then all of a sudden, next thing we know, we're feeling overwhelmed. What are
Yeah.
three things that people can do today to just three have a positive impact on their life and business right away?
Oh, okay. So new year, right? Um, Number one is pay attention to your environment. What rooms do you avoid in your house or in your office? I don't know how big your office is, or, look at your environment. Start understanding where's the clutter? Where does the clutter gather? Where does the clutter gather? If you have clutter, and if you don't have a lot of clutter, even a little bit matters. Like, where is it in your house? Because when I talked about the Bagua map, which I'm happy to provide if somebody wants one, to reach out, and it's a map for your house or your office. It can go as big as you want or as small as you want. But each area is affected. There's 9 areas. And that is a really good way of how to start building your environment with intention. That's one. And decluttering. You can't start until you clean, clear, and declutter. That's all under one heading. 2 is the boundaries. Start to say no. Start with baby steps. That's such a big one. And people don't understand. I've worked with people off and on for years. It's like they get to a new level and there's a new set of boundaries that needs to be implemented. And the third thing is be impeccable with your word. I know that we've all been through really, really tough times in the last couple of years, and I've just seen that kind of dissolve. Um, Keeping your word, which at the basis of all business and relationships, you are your word. And if you allow anything to, you know, change at the nanosecond, and you don't keep your word with appointments, and you don't keep your word with yourself, and you aren't conscientious around that, I think that is a that's one of the biggest things to get people out of pain and into a much better place. Like when you say you're going to play with the kids after dinner, play with them. If you say you're going to do something, uh, for yourself, keep your word to yourself and keep your word to others. Those would be my top three.
No, I love that. And by keeping your word, that means commitments. But if you set boundaries, you are able to do a better job keeping those commitments to yourself and others. That makes a lot of
Yes.
sense.
Yeah. Well, they're not different. They intersect a lot, but they stand separately too. But yes, because if you're not saying no, then it's hard to keep your word to anybody because you're late. That's keeping your not keeping your word. Being late is a big one. When I run that exercise with clients, it really triggers people to keep their word. Like 1 week, nothing, no changes. It's like they had no idea how they were doing that. And I was taught by a coach years ago, broken word equals broken self-esteem every single time.
Well, so as we wind down, of course, we want you to have the opportunity to share how people can learn more about your work, so website, social media handles. But you mentioned something called the Bagua Map. So
Yes.
if you don't mind sharing what that is, that'd be wonderful.
I I really should have had one here. It's a map. It goes there's feng shui, there's what 8 schools of feng shui, and I was taught in instinctive, which is a more westernized version. So the map has 9 sections on it, everything from intuition to creativity, money, fame and reputation, family, health, relationships, uh, travel and helpful people, and career, and they're all on there. You literally the way I have the instructions on how to do it, but they can use it in their home or office. And like I said, reach out to me on my website. I'm on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn lately. I'm on Facebook. So connect with me at any of those places. Let me know, and either I will do it or one of my team members will send you a Bagua map. I'd love to provide that.
Well, thank you so much. Before we let you go and I turn it back to Hope, your website. What is your website?
Okay, tandypryorcoaching.com is my website. LinkedIn is Tandy Pryor, and it's Pryor. And same with Facebook. And I do a little bit on Instagram, but I certainly get messages on there. And I don't, work as much on Instagram, but some much more on Facebook and LinkedIn and my
Well,
website.
well, thank you so much. Now back to you.
Excellent, Tandy. I love the feng shui prop principles and the Buddha, of course, behind you. And what we would love to do is feature information in the liner notes that we'll post with this podcast and video interview. So send me a Bagua map. We'll post it for you, and we'll help
Perfect.
people get to you. And
Okay.
we're very excited about all of that. So all of our guests, thank you so much for listening today, our audience. I'm Hope Katz Gibbs. Proud to be the producer of Margaritas with Marguerita Cheng, CFP Pro. And thank you so much, Tandy Pryor. We really, really loved hearing from you today.
Thank you. Thank you. It was wonderful being with you.
Thank you. All right. We'll see y'all soon. Thank you so much for being part of our Incandescent Radio and TV family. This is Hope Katz Gibbs, founder of Incandescent Incorporated, the PR and publishing company for women entrepreneurs. Our Incandescent Radio and TV shows are brought to you by our advertisers and clients. Margaritas with Marguerita Cheng, CFP Pro, brings us 15 minutes of tips every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Facebook Live, where you'll meet experts who are helping us flex our financial muscles. Find all of the episodes at margaritacheng.com. You'll also meet intuitive psychotherapist Kara Keem, who interviews therapists and other intuitive guides from around the world. Learn more at karakeem.com. And you're going to love social justice expert Karen Hanrahan, CEO of the San Francisco-based Glide Memorial Foundation. She bridges the gap from local impact to global change on her thought leadership show on Incandescent Radio. Learn more about Karen at KarenHanrahan.com. You're also going to love Alina Liao, founder of the radical wellness journaling company, ZenitJournals.com. Alina asks, have you tried to journal but found it hard to keep up? Zenit makes it easier to journal for your wellness. With Zenit, you can customize your journal with prompts that speak to you. No more blank pages. Your Zenit is your personalized space to take care of yourself. Website, ZenitJournals.com. Feel it, write it, Zenit. You'll also meet amazing Tracy Schott, founder of Voices for Change. Tracy is determined to change the world and end domestic violence. Learn more at voicesforchange.net. And we are so thrilled to be publishing a book for Angela Mitchell, who is the tech expert of case management. And she's also the founder of this fabulous organization, Kids Code 2. She is determined to teach kids to code computers. Talk about teaching a kid to fish. We invite you to discover and peruse all the Incandescent Incorporated websites, the magazine For Women, By Women, About Women, incandescentwomen.com. Our health and wellness magazine is beincandescent.com, the business of mind, body, spirit, soul, and heart. Our YouTube channel is incandescent.tv, and you can learn about our PR and book publishing services at incandescent.us. If you'd like to have your own radio and video show, check us out at incandescentradio.com, where you can see what we can do for you. These podcasts are also featured on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Our podcasts are produced by Brandy Wilsker. Our videos are produced by Nelson Benavides. Our website developer is Max Kukoy, and our incandescent illustrator and designer is Michael Glenwood Gibbs. If you'd like to learn more, please send me an email, hope@hopegibbs.com. Here is to your incredible, indelible, incandescent success. Much love and many